Hello and welcome to Broken Entertainment. So, Marvel's doing it again. And I always say, I don't like agenda in entertainment. I don't like politics in entertainment. And some people will say, well, politics have always been entertainment. Well, let's qualify what I mean by politics. Politics does not mean there can be no theme. Politics does not mean there can be no allegory. Politics does not mean there can be no story that invokes certain themes without hitting you over the head with a brick. The best stories, some of the best stories, are allegories about real life things, but they're allegories. They're similar tales without being the directly same thing. And we've lost the ability to do that somewhere along the way in our mainstream entertainment. And we know Captain Marvel, the movie, came out, and it was very unsubtle in its whole men are sexist against women thing and fighting the patriarchy. Well, that was allegorical to the extreme compared to the comic they're releasing on Wednesday, so today, by the time this video comes out. This comic's coming through IDW because Marvel's now farming out comics in the vain hope that IDW can get some people involved that are new. And it's let's take a look. So Marvel Action Origins number 2 hits stores from IDW Publishing on Wednesday as Marvel desperately hopes IDW knows better than they do how to get kids to read comics. Exploring the origins of different superheroes each issue, this one focuses on Captain Marvel as we see a young Carol Danvers inflicted by two of comics' most notorious villains. Aliens and sexism. I'm so tired of it. I really am. I don't even... Can we lay off the bullshit for a minute? Can we just have notorious villains like, I don't know, aliens and bank robbers and supervillains that want to take over the world? Do we have to have this nonsensical bullshit? Here's the thing. Comics, to me, are like Star Trek. They can acknowledge the existence of our faults while providing us a glimpse into a world where they don't exist, or perhaps they're dramatically lessened. But comics has stopped doing that. And now comics is telling us how bad we are. Every time you turn around, it's how bad we are. This is why comics like this are why the top 20 selling graphic novels in the entire United States aren't even American. They're manga. Because manga doesn't do this stuff. You gotta remember, IDW and Marvel, who your audience is. Your audience is probably 90% male. And every time they pick up one of your comics, they're hearing how bad they are. So then you have people who have children, male children, and they're reading this and they're going, no, I'm not going to let my son be told how bad he is. He should be looking up to these characters. If you really want to fight sexism, in giant air quotes, the way you do that is by making a character like Captain Marvel, who happens to be female, who boys read about and look up to. That's what Wonder Woman does, or used to. Boys would read Wonder Woman comics and they'd look up to her as a moral guide. Just like they'd look up to Superman and Batman. But now, Captain Marvel's telling them they're bad. You're bad. So, let's get into it. This is Captain Marvel when she's young. Now, Captain Marvel is, if somebody knows, let me know, but I'm going to go with what she looks like, which is in her 30s. Let's give it the benefit of the doubt. If she's any older than her 30s, this doesn't make any sense. Well, it could, depending, but if you look at the background, okay, you got kind of 80s and 90s clothing and an 80s TV set. This is not, ye old TV set. I mean, it is by our standards, but, 80s. This is an 80s kind of looking spacesuit. So, we'll call it 30s. That means she's a kid in the 80s and 90s. So here's her watching TV. I was hooked. I wanted to be an astronaut. With the newest spacecraft, we're going higher, further, faster than ever before. From that moment, I knew I wanted to go to space. And I'd get there by flying. Not everyone believed like I did. You're just a girl. Girls can't be astronauts. If Carol Danvers is a kid during the 80s, the Soviets put a woman in space in the 60s, and the U.S. did it in 1983. So either this line is completely wrong, or it happens prior to 1983, and it's still not something anybody would say in that time period. Unless you seriously want to tell me this is the 60s, then maybe. But in the 70s and 80s, there's no one that would be saying that. It doesn't make any sense. It's a stupid line. Just to make men look bad. This is the sole purpose of this line, is so that you understand that she's fighting against men, and men don't believe her, and men want to keep her down, and men don't want her to do anything. Here we have her joining the Air Force. It says, years later, after working hard, I was accepted as one of the first female pilots in an elite Air Force program. One step closer to space. That's fine. But it wasn't easy. Some people thought a woman couldn't do it. Originally, it was my father. So her own dad, this is her dad. Her own father is telling her she can't be something. This whole bad dad trope is really getting old. And then here you have them, how are you ladies going to fly in a dress? Don't break a nail. You belong in a kitchen. And she gets in the space program. So here's Sally Ride, 1983. But Sally Ride and 5 other women had been selected in 1978 as part of the astronaut training program. So you want to tell me this happens prior to 1978? Maybe it does. Maybe Marvel's insane. I don't know. But this doesn't make any sense. It's done purely to hit you over the head with the sexism, patriarchy, bad dad trope. That's all it is. And it's terrible writing. This is why people are turning away from comics. In droves. In numbers we can't even really put together on a piece of paper. You can't even really comprehend it. Those numbers are so high when you can't even breach the top 20 anymore in graphic novel sales. That's insane. This kind of stuff is what I'm talking about when I say I'm tired of politics and I'm tired of the agenda and entertainment. I don't care if it's an allegory. Allegories are a good storytelling tool. They're a way you can address topics without using the topic itself, okay? If we want to use Star Trek actually references racism and allegory a couple of times. But one of them is in Balance of Terror, where some people believe that Spock must be a traitor because when they see a Romulan, he looks like Spock. And then they do it again, and I forget the name of the episode, but it's that famous episode with the guy that's black, the race is black on one side and white on the other, but the other half of the race is the other way around, and they hate each other. And the whole episode, the crew is looking at them like they're crazy. And it ends up destroying their planet. That's an allegory for racism. obviously. Look at the time period it took place in the 1960s. It's blunt as far as allegories go, but it's not a direct one-to-one comparison. They're not constantly telling Uhura she can't do something because she's black. And when they address sexism through allegory, they don't tell Uhura she can't do something because she's a woman. That is the difference. You can tell a great story with allegory. You can't tell a great story by hitting somebody in the head with a brick. Because what happens is you lose your audience. And anything you're trying to convince them of goes out the window. Because somebody reads this, a man reads this, and they roll their eyes and they throw the comic away. Because we're inundated with this stuff over and over again in entertainment. If you want to reach an audience, if you want to make people think, you use allegory. Because then they watch it and they get to thinking about it and they're like, oh, that's interesting. That kind of tells a story about this. You know, Godzilla, the original, is an allegory. It's actually several allegories if you want to get into it. I could do a whole video on the allegories Godzilla represents, and it's not just nuclear weapons, let me tell you. The later Godzilla movies used a little bit more of a brick approach, but this is ridiculous. And good riddance to IDW, and good riddance to Marvel, and good riddance to DC, so long as they keep doing this stuff. I'm not buying their crap. There's a Wonder Girl comic out. Start with Yara Flor. I thought Yara Flor was a very good character introduced in Future State. I'm not really inclined to buy the comic though because it's DC. You know, I'll probably get one to do a review on. Just take a look at it. But I don't want to read it. And it's not because of the characters, because I know how DC's acting lately. And I see this stuff from Marvel. You think I'm going to pick up a Marvel comic? You think I'm going to pick up this comic for my kid? Oh, hell no. Not in a million years. And this is supposed to be for parents to buy for their kids so that kids get into comics. Hell no. We get inundated with this all the time. This is the rest of her origin story, vaguely. I mean, it's just disgusting. I don't have more to say on that. But this is what I'm talking about. Next time somebody is tempted to say that politics and agenda are in comics all the time and have always been in entertainment, maybe take a step back and think about it. Because I'm not talking about allegory. I'm talking about this crap. I want this crap out. This crap's not in my writing. It will never be in my writing. I might use allegories, but I will never do this. Because we don't need this. We get enough crap in real life without our entertainment talking down to us. Let me know what you think in the comments. If you like the video, please hit the like button. If you're not subscribed, please consider subscribing. Hit the bell for notifications, and I will see you next time.